Gear. I want it, I'm going to go damn hard to get it, and today I'll share with you my plan. I want to get as much gear as good as I can get it, as fast as I can get it, because I want to play this patch like a gremlin. I want to get ahead of the curve early, 2400 Mythic Plus, raining a bunch of alts, all the good stuff, so let's go. What crests should you spend liberally? What ones should you be a little bit more stingy with? Well, as a heroic curve raider who'll be jumping into normal on week 1 and then progressing through Mythic Plus fairly quickly, Drake fragments will be plentiful enough for me. I'll use them quite often because I'm also doing the world content that earns me them. But worm crests, those will be a bit more rare. And I know that I'll want plenty of them when I am upgrading my gear up to that heroic level. So I'll be conserving my worm crests, and I'll be using to upgrade good normal mode slots. And that basically means trinkets, tier, and any very rare pieces that I'm lucky enough to get. And of course, in week 1, I won't be hopping into heroic raid, so my only source of those worm fragments is going to be M+. That's why I need to make those count. Extrapolate out my thought press to your own situation. Obviously, there is not one size fits all here, but that's how to think about this problem. And as for the caps, remember, the cap increases by 150 a week starting next week, I believe. So within a few weeks then, it will be so high that it may as well be uncapped, just like all the good feelings that you will get from us on Patreon. Here's the dead cool loot for the month of May, and beyond that, we've brought back the Lore Walking podcast. We've got an episode on Neltharion, multiple behind-the-scenes videos, vlogs from me on our plans, how I work, early access content, and more. And as time goes on, I'm going to be putting more and more and more into this, so hop aboard at that link down below, get some extra content, get some loot, and with that said, let's go. Right then, we've chatted about crests, you've seen the chart of where the crest fragments come from. What about gear then? Well, print screen this chart, slap it in your Discord for reference. TLDR, normal mode drops champion gear. That is at iLvl 415 for boss 1, growing up to item level 431 for boss 9. Drake crests will upgrade this gear to iLvl 424, and then worm crests will take them all the way up to 437. For heroic mode, its gear starts at iLvl 428 and it ends at 444, with worm crests upgrading it to 437 and then an aspect crest taking it to iLvl 441. Now yes, iLvl 441 is a bit lower than the 444 that drops from Sarkareth, but that's because Sarkareth, being the last boss, is just a real special boy with good loot. Now, you can really see here how powerful the ability to upgrade normal gear to heroic mode is. Maxed out, that normal mode gear is 437. That's actually the upper middle boss of heroic Aberrus tier of item level, which is sweet. Now then, let's throw in some Mythic Plus. And note how farming worm crests, which is roughly heroic mode, gets you end of run loot that is roughly normal mode. And the vault gear that you'll get actually is essentially maxed. As an example, Mythic Plus 16 gets you iLvl 441 gear in your vault, which is the top of heroic. And this will be even more important later. Now there's a few other good sources of gear to be aware of. I mean, obviously the world boss, also the new dungeon quest. Now, while it does say heroic, I've seen people say that Mythic Plus does count for it as well, but anyway, doing that gets you a Drake crest, which you won't need as much, and then a 415 bit of champion gear that obviously can be upgraded all the way up to 437. And obviously, if that's like tier, a trinket, or a weapon, you'll be one happy gamer. Now, the Time Walking Weekly quest also drops similarly strong gear, making it relevant even to heroic raiders when it previously wouldn't have been, and then the Dungeon Weekly quest will drop, we assume, Hero 1 out of 5 gear that can be upgraded all the way up to iLvl 441. So, now that you know all the gear sources, let's handle farming our crests. Okay, here's how it works. In Raid, bosses drop 10, the final 2 bosses drop 15. In Mythic Plus, timed runs drop 12 crest fragments, while untimed ones drop 5. A full Raid, therefore, gets you 100 crest fragments, and for Mythic Plus, 12 timed runs is what you'll need to do to hit the cap of 150. At least that's the cap in week 1. And of course, what type of fragment you get depends on the keystone level that you are doing. Now, on top of that, doing your Farak Assaults and your Zaralek Cavern content will also get you a few Drake crests. Think the way that you can get some more of those, albeit very inefficiently, is killing rares, because those rares will give you 1 fragment. But to be honest, that's a lot of time, and I think you're probably just, better doing M+. Aspect crests, though, they will be dead important even if you don't mythic raid. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that doing M+16 is far easier than killing a mythic raid boss. Now, M+16 will get you really nice gear in your vault. It'll also get you aspect crests. These aspect crests will turn your hero gear from hero 4 out of 5 to hero 5 out of 5. But these are also used to craft the best gear in the game. So the enchanted crests that you need to make the crafted gear are in a few varieties. The best stuff, though, is the aspect ones. Those require 4 of the aspect crests, which means timing 5 keys at Mythic +16 or above. Then, of course, you can craft that provided you've got the requisite sparks. And yeah, that'll be a bit of iLvl 447 gear for you. That's the best in the game. And that means you can get one of these every 2 weeks. Now, as for the aspect crests, let's just say you don't quite have that much heroic gear, you've already made your craft and stuff, and you just have a few of them spare, and you could actually really use some extra worm crests to get your normal gear way up an item level. Well, the good news is you can convert your extra aspect crests into worm ones if you want. Often, sometimes doing things like this with a capped currency might feel bad, but again, I would say, remember, the cap increase is 150 a week. That means that these in no time will feel virtually uncapped. So, we've talked a bit about crests, but let's talk about how you can conserve your crests and actually do things tactically to just get a way better deal, more bang for your buck. So, it only costs crests to upgrade a slot beyond the highest item level your character has got in that slot. And because of this, upgrading immediately may sometimes feel like a mistake, but also it can be okay. I'll break that down. Say your guild runs raids on Tuesday and Sunday, and you do Mythic Plus between and after, right? You'll probably be Mythic Plussing like even a crest level above what you're currently raiding at, or at least, gear from the vault. Now, even if you're, say, farming worm crests, your end of dungeon loot will be champion 4 out of 8 gear. That will be higher than your early normal mode drops, allowing you to save a bunch of crests when you upgrade them. So if before you upgrade your raid gear, you do your Mythic Plus content, right? You'll get some extra gear there. Some of that gear will be at a higher item level, perhaps, than some of the gear you got from the raid. Now, if that's the case, but the piece of gear you got in the raid is actually better for your character, the big strength here is you can upgrade it without using crests and for a 50% Flightstone discount. Another upshot then is that maxing your vault is extremely strong. Maxing your vault almost completes a gear slot for the duration of the patch. I mean, seriously, if you get a piece of 441 vault gear, the slot is just done. Because if you get any other piece of gear in that slot, let's just say it's a trinket, right? You get a shitty trinket from the vault, but it's iLvl 441. Well, if you were to use that, it would mean that any other trinket you get can very rapidly be upgraded up to that item level only using Flightstones, right? So, and also it's a 50% discount on those Flightstones. Running Mythics at 16 gets you that 5 out of 5 hero gear in the vault. So if you're a heroic raider, it means that slot is maxed out, and any of the raid loot that you can get can be very quickly upgraded using the Flightstones. So because of this, I'm going to really focus on pushing my Great Vault up, and I'm going to focus on spending my resources after I've done some M+, after my initial burst of raiding. Another nice thing here is it allows you to upgrade non-BIS items without fear. I mean, say you get a good trinket, but it's not the best trinket from the raid. You may as well still upgrade that trinket, because when your BIS trinket does drop, you'll be able to upgrade that to the item level of your first trinket, only at a cost of Flightstones. So it's pretty sweet. Now, if you're clearing heroic on week 2 or 3, then maybe you will want to just get way better gear, by jumping up difficulty modes. But for most guilds for whom curve is the goal, and they won't get it nearly instantly, this means that within the difficulty range that you're playing, you can just mostly upgrade without worry, which is real nice. So overall then, I'm going to be doing my upgrades that cost crests towards the end of the week. There may even be times where I will do them after I open the next week's Great Vault, because that's when I'll really know how I can distribute all of my different resources. Of course, upgrades that just cost you Flightstones can be done pretty much at any time. And it's one of those things, sometimes waiting for an upgrade isn't fun, but honestly, this just comes with the territory with this kind of thing. Next then, I want to talk about crafted gear. As I said, you can immediately craft your bis at iLevel 447. That will cost you an Enchanted Aspects Crest, which is made by enchanters costing 4 Aspect Crests, in addition to some other mats, including Dracothists, which are the new alchemy transmute that likely will be quite expensive. The 4 Aspect Crests you'll ideally want are from Mythic Raid and M+ dungeons beyond Keystone level 16, so timing 5 keys at 16 is enough to get you those 4 crests, which should be your major week 1 goal. As a priest and looking at the loot pool from Aberrus as an example, I know that like there's a 2-hander at the very end of the loot pool. That's not where I'm going to be spending most of my time, so I'm probably going to get a really good crafted one-handed weapon that I know can kind of go the distance for me. Now, at the end of Season 2, Week 1, you will have half of a spark, well, 1.5 because of the spark that they give you for free in the first week of the patch. And then from that point, you get half a spark a week, right? And that means that by the end of week 3, you'll be able to craft another bit of iLevel 447 gear. And obviously, if you want to know what is best to craft here, you can check out your class discords or the various class guides in sites like Wowhead. It used to be the traditional wisdom that you would craft a lariat, which was that neck piece, but do remember the lariat has been nerfed, right? It has been nerfed, so the old logic may no longer apply. Okay, let's talk about tier gear then. Tier is way more accessible this round. So Sarkareth drops an Omni token that can be turned into any piece of tier for anyone in the raid. And this will really help you because it's a 100% drop rate item. That is just awesome. And obviously the upgrade system means that your normal mode tier is still super valuable because it can go up to iLevel 437. So even if you're proccing heroic, clearing normal mode is a really good idea because of those rare items, those trinkets, and that tier gear that will really help out your raid. Then, of course, we've got the Catalyst. It releases June 13th, which is actually a week earlier than before, relatively speaking. So there's that. And then finally, we've got a very important thing, which is the Draconic Mark of Mastery. This gives you a piece of heroic item level tier gear, right? A token that you can trade in for one. And it's earned by doing one of 3 things. Number 1, 2,000 Mythic Plus ratings, so just hitting Keystone Master. The second one is getting ahead of the curve, heroic. And the third one is getting a PvP rating of 1,600. Which, being real, for quite a lot of us, is very doable within the first week or 2. I mean, I'll be trying to get those Aspect Crests in order to get my 447 crafted gear, which pretty much means that in the process, I'll get a very long way to getting one guaranteed piece of tier gear via this. And all this just means, yeah, we should be getting our 2 sets and our 4 sets just that bit quicker than last time. And of course, with those Aspect Crests, if I'm absolutely swimming in them, I may downgrade some of them into the worm ones just so that I can fully max out any of that normal mode gear, or maybe some normal mode tier gear that I get. But other than that, I will be banking those because they will mean that I can upgrade any hero 4 out of 5 gear to hero 5 out of 5, which will just make, every drop that I get when I do move into heroic that bit more exciting because I know I can really fire its item level. And that's for some benchmarks, right? Put simply, a mix of dedicated Mythic Plus and raid gameplay will get you up to item level 441 in all slots with 2 bits of crafted 447 gear pretty much by the end of the 3rd week, right? I won't be going for that because I won't be clearing heroic as much as like a Mythic Raider will. They blast that out in week 1. That's not really how I'm playing, but absolutely 437 with maybe 2 bits of 447 crafted gear, maybe some 441s from the vault. Like, that is what I'm aiming for personally. And honestly, for me with this patch, the thing that has hyped me up the most is that I can hit this season fast and hard with an upgrade system that makes my every effort in-game super motivating, right? Because even if that M+ dungeon doesn't give me any loot, I don't really give a shit. I pretty much get a crest. I can do an upgrade, right? That furthers my goals. And this lets me go fast and hard in a short amount of time. And that fits how I want to play a game like WoW. I don't want to just have the exact same schedule all year round. No, I want to play it almost like a seasonal sport. Hit the game hard for 6 to 8 weeks, have a blast, go super hardcore, and then, so I don't get burnt out, stop. Yeah, stop raiding, stop doing that kind of thing afterwards. Maybe play around with alts, get some transmogs, play some other video games. God knows we all need time to do that this year because it's been insane. Although, by the way, by the time that initial 6 to 8 weeks passes, it'll probably be patch 10.1.5, which has a mega dungeon. Because this expansion is goddamn relentlessly full of content. okay, that is my, you know, slightly more goblin mode degeneracy plan for this season. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's nice. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.